Welcome back to the Wealth Effect. Today we're talking about something that affects more people than you might realize, the wealth gap. Now you might be thinking, that's a big problem. How in the world are we going to tackle something so massive? Well, I'm here to tell you, it starts with one person, you. You might not be able to control where you started, but you can control where you're headed. The key to closing the wealth gap is not luck, not circumstances, or external factors. It's found in your ability to make decisions, take action, and commit to changing your life. Let's talk about how you can close the wealth gap for yourself, and more importantly, how you can use the lessons you learn to lift others along the way. The wealth gap is something that affects millions, but it's also something you can overcome. You don't need to be a millionaire to close the wealth gap, but you do need to change your thinking and your approach. Let's fill your pocket. Section 1. The reality of the wealth gap. The wealth gap is real. The numbers are staggering. The rich get richer and the poor get left behind. It's an ongoing cycle that can feel impossible to break. But understand this, the wealth gap is not an unchangeable law of nature. It's a social construct. Think about it this way. The wealth gap isn't about having less money. It's about the opportunity gap. It's about access to resources, opportunities, and the tools to succeed. It's about growing up in a neighborhood where your role models are struggling to make ends meet, where the people around you are just trying to survive and not thrive. When you grow up surrounded by poverty, your expectations for life are often shaped by what you see and experience every day. But you can change that. The first step to breaking the wealth gap is realizing that it doesn't define your future. If you believe that the wealth gap is an insurmountable mountain, guess what? You're never going to try to climb it. But if you believe deep down that your circumstances do not dictate your future, then you'll begin to see a way out. The moment you realize you have control over your own life, everything begins to shift. The wealth gap may be real, but you don't have to let it be your reality. The impact of where you're raised. People often talk about their upbringing like it's a prison sentence. They say, I grew up in a bad neighborhood. My family was broke. My school system failed me. Yes, these things matter. Where you come from influences your worldview, your opportunities, and your baseline for what seems possible. It's harder to dream big when no one around you has ever done it. It's harder to believe in success when all you've known is struggle. But here's what you need to understand. Your past is not your destiny. Your environment doesn't have the final say on your future. You do. Your circumstances might be difficult. The obstacles in your path, they can be the very thing that shapes you into something stronger. Consider the countless people who have come from nothing and built extraordinary lives. They weren't lucky. They weren't chosen. They made decisions to rise, to fight, to build. They saw their struggles not as change, but as fuel, and so can you. Your environment can be a launch pad, not a prison. The skills you develop in adversity, resilience, and resourcefulness, these aren't just tools for getting by, they're tools for success. The same discipline it took to avoid trouble can be used to master a craft. The same grit it took to get through tough things can be used to create a future worth living. But first, you have to decide. You have to decide that you are not just a product of where you were raised. You have to decide that your story will not be written by the limitations of your past, but by the action you take today. The world will give you excuses. It will give you reasons to quit, to complain, to stay stuck. Ignore them. Show the world and yourself what's possible. Wealth is built, not given. The power of discipline and the ability to turn obstacles into opportunities. This mindset is crucial when it comes to wealth. Most people think wealth is something you're born into or handed down, but history tells a different story. Most millionaires don't start with wealth. they build it. They take control of their circumstances and change their trajectory through smart decisions, discipline, and resilience. Wealth is built, not given. That means you have to work for it, plan for it, and stay committed to the process, even when it gets hard. The reality is, no one is going to hand you financial success. If you want to change your financial future, you need to adopt a mindset of ownership, own your choices, your habits, and your financial education. Study wealth the same way an athlete studies their sport. Section 2. The power of daily habits. Small actions compound over time. Greatness isn't one grand move, it's consistent daily effort. The same applies to wealth. You don't need to make $1 million overnight. You need to make the right decisions daily. Are you investing in yourself? Are you saving? Are you spending wisely? Are you learning from those who have already built wealth? Your habits determine your future. If you adopt the right financial habits, such as budgeting, investing, and learning, you're positioning yourself for long-term success. The problem is too many people think wealth is a lottery ticket, when in reality, it's prepping and climbing a mountain. Section 3. Overcoming barriers. Barriers are the invisible walls that keep most people stuck, the obstacles that make success feel impossible. The wealth gap alone comes with a host of these barriers, such as limited access to education, financial constraints, lack of mentorship, and perhaps the most insidious of all, a negative mindset. Education is the great equalizer. If you grew up in an underfunded school district, you know what it feels like to be left behind. Outdated textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, teachers stretched too thin to give you the attention you need. But education isn't confined to four walls and a curriculum. Education is a mindset. It's a lifelong pursuit, and in today's world, it's more accessible than ever. The internet has leveled out the playing field. You have access to the same knowledge as billionaires, scholars, and world leaders. Books, podcasts, online courses, these things are at your fingertips, waiting for you to take advantage of them. No one is coming to hand you a perfect education. You have to go find it yourself. Make it your mission to learn something new every week, because the more you know, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the closer you get to breaking through barriers, including the wealth gap. No one can take your knowledge away from you. It's yours to keep, to use, and to build upon, starting where you are. Maybe you don't have money for a fancy college. Maybe you don't have the capital to start a business. That doesn't mean you're powerless. It just means you have to start where you are. Wealth isn't built overnight, and it isn't built only by those who start with money. It's built through small, consistent actions, learning to save, investing even tiny amounts, seeking out opportunities others overlook. The problem isn't the lack of money, it's the lack of resourcefulness. Look around you. There are grants, scholarships, free resources, and people willing to help those who show initiative. But you have to take the first step. No one is going to build wealth for you. That's your responsibility. Mindset. Mindset, the barrier you must break. This is one of the hardest ones. The barrier that stops most people before they even start. If you grew up in poverty, it's easy to develop a scarcity mindset, to believe there's never enough, to feel like you'll always struggle, always be behind, always be at the mercy of forces beyond your control. But here's the thing, the moment you change your mindset, everything changes. Instead of seeing barriers, start seeing possibilities. Instead of saying, I can't, start asking, how can I? Instead of focusing on what you lack, focus on what you can create. The wealth gap isn't just about money. It's about belief. It's about choice. And the most powerful choice you can make is to stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and start seeing yourself as the architect of your future. No one is saying that it will be easy, but it's definitely possible. The power of mentorship. No successful person did it alone. Behind every great leader, every entrepreneur, every high achiever, there's someone who helped along the way. A mentor, a guide, someone who had already walked the path and willing to show them how to do the same. If you want to break through barriers, whether financial, professional, or personal, you have to surround yourself with people who've already done it, people who know the way forward, who can warn you about pitfalls, and who can challenge you. Something most people overlook is that mentors don't always have to be people you meet in person. Some of the greatest mentors in history are waiting for you in books. Their wisdom, their experiences, their lessons, they've written them down for you to learn from. These are people who left behind a roadmap to success. Their words, their books, letters, and biographies can serve as mentors, teaching you discipline, strategy, and resilience. So if you can't find a mentor in your immediate circle, don't let that stop you. Learn from those who come before you, apply their lessons, and when the time comes, be the mentor you wish you had for someone else. Too many people waste their years trying to figure out things on their own, making avoidable mistakes, learning lessons the hard way. Someone out there has already solved the problems you're facing. Someone has already climbed the mountain you're trying to scale. Find that person, study their journey, learn from their failures as well as their successes. There's no prize for doing it the hard way. The real win is learning fast, growing smarter, and achieving more because you had the humility to seek wisdom. Section 4. Persistence. The wealth gap doesn't close because you tried once and gave up. It doesn't close because you get discouraged when things don't go your way. It closes because you keep going, no matter what. Persistence is the dividing line between those who succeed and those who don't. Life will knock you down. People will tell you no. Your first attempt might fail, your second too. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Each attempt is a lesson. Each failure is a step forward. And eventually, persistence leads to success. Every time you get knocked down, you have a choice to stay down or you can rise. Every setback is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to sharpen your skills. The world doesn't reward the timid, the fearful. It rewards those who are persistent in the face of adversity. Remember, the wealth gap doesn't close with a single decision. It closes with a series of decisions made over time. The person who keeps going, who refuses to quit, who learns from every failure, that's the person who breaks through. Success is not reserved for the lucky. It belongs to those who are persistent. Section 5. Lifting others as you climb. True success isn't about personal wealth. It's about creating a ripple effect. As you break free from the cycle of financial struggle, you have a responsibility to lift others up. Wealth, when used correctly, is a tool for impact. Teach what you learn, share opportunities, create jobs, invest in your community. When you close your own wealth gap, don't forget to help others do the same. The goal isn't just to escape poverty, it's to build a world where fewer people have to struggle in the first place. Final thoughts. The wealth gap is real, but it doesn't have to be your reality. Your circumstances do not define you, your choices do. The road to financial freedom isn't easy, but it's possible. It starts with a shift in mindset, a commitment to discipline, and a willingness to take action. What will you do today to close your own wealth gap? Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.